Um, I always had an interest in herbs and using local things for our skin. I look around at my parents, my aunts, other people, and they use basic stuff. And it really was my mother who said one day, why you don't do a hair food for us in the Caribbean? And I think that kind of formalized, the business aspect. My grandmother, I'll go back with her. She always saw me as a doctor back then, but I saw myself as a scientist. So I ended up in the lab coat anyhow. And I always liked creating. At that point, even when I was at Nestle, I really didn't even think of a business because Nestle was very interesting. I was the first executive woman. I also headed up research and development, quality control. I co-founded a credit union there. And so that gave me the platform, technical and management. But I had this craving for adventurism and to look within Trinidad and Tobago, to see, what we could do. But this passion just overcame me, and I said, okay, well, I talked to the big God upstairs and I said, if you're taking me there, well, I'm going. Well, of course, my grandparents and parents were very alarmed because I was at the top of my game. And to leave a comfortable job going into the unknown was scary. For them, not so much for me because, in your early 30s, you're still zesting, young, enthusiastic. But this passion was so great that I just figured if I couldn't give 101%, The first thing I got was an accountant. So the company was the Herbarium Limited because it was dealing with herbs. And that was founded, and then under the umbrella of the Herbarium Limited, when we started to do products, which was CHEMIST, CHEMIST now was a brand. So we trademarked CHEMIST in Trinidad, in the US, Canada, UK. I did it all by myself. But it was relatively, at that time, not hard to do. I still, even renewals, I do it myself, The US has just changed its format in that you have to have an attorney now to do the trademark, and so we had to do it. And the trademark is important because it protects your brand, right? The next area we are looking at China, but it was a bit difficult, but it's an area, down the road as we spread our wings. For me, over the years, to see people grow, they come in sometimes shy, and to know how they've blossomed is really, testament to the systems, but also testament in terms of having a kind of rapport or relationship. They know that I'm the boss. They know that I'm strict at times. But I think one person told me that I'm fair, but he said, he didn't say harsh, but he said, but you're fair. You're stern, but you're fair. I try to as much as humanly possible. I love being around young people because they keep me buoyant and they keep CHEMIST fresh, especially a few, maybe months ago, one of them told me we have to do modern services. I said, let me know what are modern services. And, we are ready, we're now getting ready to introduce more modern services. Some things I, again, not aware of because I'm not looking at YouTube all the time to see what is going on. But so I enjoy being around them. I think they're beautiful people. Yeah. We have had staff who've been with us for 30 years, 20-something years, retired with us. A lot of our staff now are 7 years and over. So it's really kind of building a family, you know, of course you'll have your day-to-day things that you have to work through. And as I must say that I commend my team, my staff, they're committed to doing good work, and, you know, so that's alive. And the future is good. The future is good. Very early, my grandmother was a banker, right? At 92, she passed at 92, but 1991, my uncle would be the one to go to the bank for her. And from time to time, we all had to borrow from Mama. She had this, she was not a spendthrift. And to me, she was very steady, focused, and knew how to save, you know. So I think I grew up with her. I was her first grandchild. So I think unconsciously, she taught us independence, because I think she was ahead of her time with respect to women education. She ensured all her children were educated, especially the girls. Again, we mirror the people who we look up to. And so that was very important for me with respect to savings, right? And I think for many of us, I think if we can start, you know, even from the business point of view, our children seeing us actively involved, you know, you begin to get a sense of a continuity because they mirror you. Our culture has not been one of entrepreneurial, you know, of an entrepreneurial direction. We were always guided to take the more security, and that is a historical colonial. And so consequently, I think the support systems, financial and otherwise, didn't always see us in that role. And therefore, there was a bias, a difficulty, you know, in accessing all avenues. And there's still a bias in the country still, even though more and more of us are. The importance, yes, of coming together as a black business, understanding that networking is the key. You know, all major decisions are taken, you know, networking here, there, and everywhere, not necessarily at a business level. And therefore, how also we see ourselves global. And I mean, I'm encouraged that more and more people are getting into business, because over a period of time that will swell, that will grow. But it's, I think the basics are important, yes, but you have to plan, you have to do your SWOT, look at your weaknesses and your strengths, and get the necessary support systems, especially an accountant or somebody who can look at your books, you know, guide you to enable you to master and be able that if you need financing, you can then be more equipped, you know. And I'm going back to the whole question of the susu, because I continue to do susus, right? Even if it's for my personal goals. You know, earlier on I used the credit union also. And that question of accruing savings is important. It may be more difficult today, but we were recalling just now our grandparents, you know, during that go-over week in the month, somehow they will go into some hidden place and pull out something to help us through. It is important because many businesses successful started as a family business, right? And for me, again, it's a platform for growth. So when you come out of college and you know you have a business to go into, it minimizes having the hassle of going for a job unless it's a particular specialty. And I'm not saying that all businesses will want to have that continuity. But I think from very long, my daughter from 8, 9 years was involved in the operational side. And my staff used to call her the real boss, you know. And so when she went to university, she did her PhD in chemical engineering, got the Governor Generals of Canada top award. I didn't know if she was going to, you know, come in because I didn't want to impose again. And then one day she says, I'm ready. And she's living in Canada, and she opened a business. And what was interesting, I mean, she was really better than me. She was walking down the street in Kingston, Ontario, with her mother-in-law and saw this building for sale. And she just said to her, I'm going to buy this building. She did the maths because if you rented, the taxes were so high that it was better to buy a building. So, of course, she had to get funds. And of course, in support, I took out what funds I had and I assisted and with her funds, and, you know, she was able, she and her husband were able to purchase the building. They formed their company, and she began the first Chemisht spa. She had a lot of challenges too, because being black in a white environment, but I just told her, persevere. Everything ain't going to be the same tomorrow. You understand? And it's a test, and once you do that successfully, she went on to a second outlet, and then not only that, she's very gregarious. So she got involved in the Kingston business community. She's now chair of the Kingston Tourism Board. She's a member of the downtown, and she has 4 kids and a husband. And she volunteers, you know, a lot of volunteer work. The company belongs to an organization in the US called the Independent Cosmetic Manufacturers and Distributors. And every month they would send a newsletter. And this was in 1991 or 1992. There was this Canadian-US business forum being held at the York or Fairmont Hotel in Toronto. And I'm sitting down there and I saw this and I said, maybe I should apply. I know it doesn't look like it's for us. But anyway, I applied via email, and it was Ash Wednesday. I got this call from this intern. I'd never forget that. She said, I'm Kathy calling from the White House. And I said, which White House? She said, in the US, you've been chosen. You will get the full package with everything, the details, because you don't have much time, because it was like in May. But if you were invited by the White House, of course, everything was cleared. I was the only non-national, and it was a really beautiful forum, and you realize that the same problems women in business had here, there, and everywhere, it was the same. Another highlight, too, was I was invited to be a participant at, this was a UNDP forum. There were 2 people in Trinidad they had chosen, shortlisted, and I got it. It was to go to Ghana and present, again, a paper on business and be part of a forum on women in business. And this was put on by GAWE, which was the Ghanaian Women Business Association. That was great. I think even in terms of just seeing, looking back and looking at the growth, the development. I did some amazing things when I first began, and I wanted to market myself. I used that feature 5 minutes before Young and Restless. That's when we only had TTT. And I scripted everything, and all TTT did was to film it. And I mean, at that time, I didn't think I was doing, it was just my bravidage self, you know, and to try and maintain that, because today we are so many products out there, so many, so it is a challenge, it is not easy, you know, but we persevere. The impact of the lockdown was, I mean, tremendous. It impacted everybody negatively. So you were all on a level playing field, but within that you still had to deal with all your statutory commitments, deal with your staffing. And when we reopened in June, because we were the third group, customers were happy to see us. And it did not, of course, come up to the same level, but now we are back in August, you know, with the situation, and again, it's very, very difficult. So one just has to find ways in which to supplement, you know, yeah. As soon as I got into my business, of course, I hired an accountant and an attorney. Most important people, you know, to just guide us in terms of, one, from the attorney, how to structure the company, all the challenges legally, and then an accountant with respect to ensuring that, you know, we were properly documented, and that the importance of money and how money moves in and out, and you had to be able to track it to understand where that $100 went, you know? So very early, those disciplines were implemented from that point of view, you know. And the question of savings, I've used savings a lot because it has helped me, if I needed an extra extension on my overdraft, I could say, okay, I have these funds here. I can maybe secure it. So that was easier, you know. So the question of savings, no matter how small, is important. To build a little nest so that you could fall back on, you know, and use it. And then it gives to the lending agencies. They see a track record in you, and so there's a buy-in that is easier, you know. It's not an easy road, according to Vujivantan, and therefore you have to prepare. You also, to me, have to have support, because there are people you need to be able to go to in times of when you feel really like giving up. Like many times I said, who sent me? You know, because there are some really, really dark days. But you live in the light, and sometimes I always find when you're down, something comes to you to lift you up. It is very important that you do a very good business plan if you're going for financing, you know, and be prepared. Stay the course. There's a lot of sacrifice, because many times what we see as the end product, we may see somebody with a nice house, a nice car, and feel that is it. That is not it. You know, it's far from that, because business takes a life of its own. And you have, like anything else, to manage it, to build a relationship with it, because it can easily flitter from you. Oh Lord, sometimes I think I want to retire, give it up, but I don't know. We're in this ageless era in cosmetics, right? Well, before we were anti-aging, but then that became a kind of artificial platform, because we are aging. So then the new mode is ageless, right? And therefore, what is happening, people in their 80s, because we're living longer, are also having a third career, you know, and therefore there are things you may like. Even though some people may be away, I'm talking a lot away, living in assisted homes and stuff. Once you're independent and you're healthy, you can do basically whatever you want to do. I do spend a lot of time with my grands, but because of COVID, I've not been able. So again, the thing is, anything. I mean, I did skydiving, I flew a plane. So, you know, I'm an adventurous. So once there's life and health, and that's what I pray for, then I'm inspired to do everything or anything and just live my best life, whatever that may be. And what is nice too for me about the business, we have some really loyal customers, long-standing. People come up. I've been using CHEMIST since, so people will meet me. My mother used CHEMIST on me, and now I'm using it on my daughter. So it says a lot about the quality that we try to do. Of course, there's always that bias still, but it's part of the course. So for me, as much as humanly possible, to be energized, because even though life is challenging, it's still good to be here.